Hi everyone, welcome to Moyna Bass Fishes. I am Jim Moyna, your official fact checker and researcher for Moyna Bass Fishes Enterprises. All right, in this video, this is kind of a follow-up to the 2025 Champions Tour Lake Vermilion tournament that we just held a few days ago. I did a part one on Lake Vermilion. I guess it's not labeled as part one, but I did a video on basically my strategy and my results and my thoughts on the tournament. I did that video, and now I'm doing this video. Why am I doing this video? Because on comments to that other video I did, there were, and I only read through like 5 or 6 comments, and I ran into these two issues right away. And I didn't even go any farther in the comments because I'm like, hey, you know what? I want to do a video on this, and here is that video. So the first issue that I came across, because okay, let me just back it up a little bit. I'm getting ahead of myself. All right, this tournament had absolute record-breaking catches in this tournament, not for giant monster fish, but for quantities of fish. The tournament lake was Lake Vermilion. It's in northern Minnesota, and it's this was part of the Champions Tour tournament series. And let me just talk about how we score in the Champions Tour tournament series. It's done much like you see in the MLF's Bass Pro Tour, where this is how it's done, where each boat in this tournament, there were 67 boats. By the way, I finished 27th. I had 122.5 pounds. The winner had 282 pounds. To make a check, you needed 154 pounds, which was 17th place out of 67. I think I said that. All right, so the way they score, okay, each of the 67 boats has a tournament official in that boat, provided with a tournament provided scale. All right, so when the competitor catches a fish, it's unhooked, it's set on the scale, the fish is weighed, the fish is then released into the lake right where it just came into the boat. So you have not moved. You have not moved locations. The fish is released right where it was, right where you just caught it. And then the weight's recorded in an app, and also a picture. Every fish has to have a picture of it. So every fish is photographed, weighed, and the photograph always takes place when, like, I always tell my guy, hey, just take my picture while I'm unhooking it. So there's no like extra time to show, be a showman with the fish. I'm like, hey, just take my picture while I'm unhooking it. When I'm, then we'll put it on scale, weigh it, release the fish, record the weight of the fish in an app. It's called the Real Live Well app. So it's recorded there. Then also we record it on paper as well. So we have 2 records of it. So anyway, so that's how it's scored. And to score, the fish has to be a minimum of 1 pound. Okay? So a 15 ouncer does not count. That's 0. 1 pound is 1 pound. 2 pounds is 2 pounds. 1.5 pounds, 1.5 pounds, so on. So what this allows then, you basically you're catch and releasing all day long, and every time you catch a fish 1 pound or better, it adds to your total. So you potentially have an unlimited potential, really. The total number of fish is your maximum. Your total number of scoreable fish in a lake is your maximum potential. And in fact, that's not even your maximum potential, because your maximum potential is the time, because you can only cast, reel in a fish, unhook it, take a picture, weigh it, and record it, and re-rig your bait. You can only do that so many times in an 8-hour period. So, which actually was put to the test by the winner, Hunter Wendt. All right, so anyhow, that's how it's scored. Now, the 2 topics that I want to mention, that literally, I don't know what the rest of the comments were in that post. Haven't got to them yet. I will. But the first comment was wondering, or was almost implying, that a lot of these anglers were just simply catching the same fish over and over again. In the rules, it is said that we are not allowed to catch the same bedding bass more than once. So if I see a bedding bass on a boulder right there and I catch it, I can no longer catch that fish next to that boulder. That would be, it would not score. It would not be a scoreable fish the second time for me. Okay? So that's in the rules, and it was reminded to us at the pre-tournament meeting the night before. It was verbally reminded to us. And then also the marshals were made aware of this as well, because it was well known that there was a lot of fishing beds in the lake. All right, so I highly doubt that fish, the official's job is there to make sure that you're not doing something like that. So anyhow, that's that issue. The second issue is another comment was basically trying to discredit the whole thing, because the comment was, it was somebody who, well, I'll just tell you what they wrote. And I'm paraphrasing, but they wrote, they basically were saying that, let's just make the facts known that these aren't real fishermen. They're just techies who are good with forward-facing sonar. That was basically the comment. So I got to thinking about that, and I was wondering myself, because I did not talk to any of the top finishers specifically about this topic, and that is, did forward-facing sonar play into, or is it attributed to some of these top finishers' catches? How big of a factor was it? Because I didn't know. I know personally, the water's really clear. I can see plain as day the beds. It's not murky. I don't need to see them on forward sonar because I can see them with my bare eyes. That's my personal experience. In fact, I never even turned on my forward-facing sonar the whole tournament, because why bother? I'm like, I'll just leave it off. It's one less. Because they know when that thing's on, they can sense it. Whether they correlate it to danger or not is a whole nother matter. But they can sense that it's there. I've observed how fish respond to it. But anyways, I wanted to get to the bottom of that. And fortunately, I know some people. I knew one guy. Well, actually, I kind of know quite a few guys. But so Chad Grigsby's been on the FLW Tour and MLF and Bassman. I've been fishing against him for years and years, and he got third place in this tournament. Congratulations to Chad Grigsby. So I reached out to him with a text asking him, Chad, just wondering, I got people commenting on my videos. They're wondering, was forward-facing sonar any part of, your fish catches? And he responded, no, I was using my eyeballs to catch all mine. Which makes sense because the water's really clear, but I didn't know. Maybe there were some really deep beds that you couldn't see, and there was a lot more of them out there. I don't know. Didn't know that because I finished 27th, so I wasn't completely dialed in like for someone like Chad, who had over 200 pounds. I think he had like 209 pounds. And he got third. So Chad uses eyeballs. So I'm like, all right, well, that's one person. I'll reach out to Paul Newman, the tournament director. Because Paul also, during the tournament hours, while the fishermen are out competing, Paul will drive around with a cameraman, and they'll tune in. They'll find where the leaders are and get some video footage of what the leaders are doing, what they're catching. So I'm like, well, Paul has seen a bunch of those guys. What's he got to say? So I text Paul. He responded back saying, as far as he could tell, they were all using their eyeballs. So I'm like, All right. So all the people that Paul ran into were using their eyeballs. Makes sense. So then I'm like, well, I'll reach out to Adam, who's the head cameraman. I'm like, yeah, he'll know. So I text Adam, and it just so happens Adam was in the winner's boat. Hunter went. 282 pounds. Congratulations, if I haven't said that already, Hunter. He was in Hunter's boat, and he just flat out said, no, Hunter uses eyeballs to catch every one of them. And not only that, Adam went on to say that the area that Hunter was in was the most incredible scene he had ever seen in his life for spawning smallmouth. But he said there were so many in the area where he's fishing. It was literally almost like a giant bluegill colony. And if you've ever seen a bluegill colony of spawning bluegills, I mean, they're like just all tight packed together. And was how Adam described it. So there it is. There's the testimony from 3 people in that tournament at the top of the leaderboard, all saying they use their eyeballs. So let's not use forward-facing sonar to discredit these anglers, discredit the record fish catches in this tournament. Now, I know some of you may discredit based on the ethical principle of catching bass off the spawning beds. That's been a argument, a debate going on forever, and I'm not going to debate that here. We're not getting into that. That's a whole other topic. But I just wanted to point those 2 other things out, basically because I don't want to see these anglers be discredited because of how they're fishing. But even if they were using forward sonar, I mean, it's great catches. But I also recognize there's a difference. There's a difference in tournaments with forward-facing sonar, and there's a difference of tournaments without forward-facing sonar. There's different skills emphasized in each one. And what's emphasized in traditional old-school fishing, those skills are quite different than what's emphasized in new school techie fishing, okay? So I'm totally aware of that. But I don't want to discredit what these guys were doing out there and the records that they set, because that's, I mean, come on. They caught them with their eyeballs. Over and out.